Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to yet another one of my videos. If you are new to this channel, my name is Awan Dimkono, and if you've already subscribed, I just want to say thank you so very much. I truly do appreciate it. I know 250 might not be a lot to some people, but to me it is a lot, so thank you. If you don't already know, today I'll be giving you some interview tips and tricks. So if you're new, do like, do share, comment, do subscribe, but most importantly, go ahead and do you. Okay, so let's jump straight into the very first tip. Alright, so this tip is definitely a pre-interview tip. So before your interview starts, what you definitely want to do is make sure that you are in a room that is conducive to an interview. As much as this interview will be taking place online via WeChat or Skype, you want to make sure that you come across as professional as possibly possible. So you want to make sure that you're dressed properly. This honestly can just be your top area because you're probably going to be sitting down, so they're not going to see the bottom, but you want to make sure that you come across as professional. You present yourself in a really good manner. You are in a room that is quiet, that is very silent, and that doesn't have any background noises to interrupt with your interview. You also want to make sure that your Wi-Fi signal or your cellular data is very strong in the room that you are in, as this will be conducted via social networks. That is the very first tip, and that is pre-interview. So during your interview, you want to make sure that you are as prepared as possibly possible. Okay, so I know that this probably might seem a little bit informal to you to have your interview conducted over social media, but this is a normal and everyday type of interview as possible, and you have to kind of imagine that your interviewers are in the same room as you in order for you to make sure that you conduct yourself in the best possible manner. You don't want to be in the bathroom, you don't want to be in an area where there's so much background noise that you can't even concentrate, because best believe your recruiters or the people interviewing you, they won't be able to see past all of that noise, and it will just seem as if you're very much unprepared. You want to be absolutely prepared. Now, I know that when I was getting ready for my interview, I just kind of looked on YouTube, to be completely honest. There was so much information on YouTube that I was able to understand what was expected of me before even stepping into the interview. Now, I want to make it absolutely clear that I had 4 interviews, 2 of which were from Chinese companies and 2 were from South Korea, and out of the 4, I got offered 3 jobs. The first one, I failed. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I actually failed my first interview, but after that, I picked myself up, I researched, I made sure that I knew as much as possible about the following future interviews, that I got every single one of them, and I ended up coming here to China. So you guys have to pretty much do the very same thing. You want to make sure that you explore every single possible resource, platform, whether this is a blog or an article on YouTube or a video here. Wait, an article on YouTube? No, an article on Google. I'm sorry. Or a video here on YouTube. I'm sorry guys, you know that I do this. By now you should know that this is me. But yeah, so make sure that you explore every single related platform, and you are completely ready for all possible questions that might be asked. So I'm just going to run through some of the questions that they definitely asked me. I'm not going to necessarily give you all the answers because, as we all know, I only have 15 minutes, but I'm going to give you a vague idea of how you should go about answering all of these questions. So first and foremost, the very first questions that they will definitely ask you is, tell me more about yourself. So yes, you should be prepared for this question no matter what. Like, absolutely, they want to know more about you. And in this question, they get a grasp of your accent and your understanding of the English language, and also just like what is there to you that makes you different to the next applicant. So in this question, you want to make sure that you highlight all of the experience that you have. So as a teacher, this is who I am. You don't want to just kind of give them every possible you, because honestly, you can answer that in any possible manner, but you want to make it related to this job. So you want to make it relative to being a teacher. This is who I am. So you want to give them a little background about what you might have studied, how old you are, where you live, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, and why you might be interested in coming to a whole different country and spending a year there, because most of the contracts do last for 12 months, and what makes you that person that will stand out from the other applicants. So that's how you want to answer that question. Number 2, they will definitely ask you about your experience. So tell me more about the experience that you've had teaching young kids or teaching any kids. In this question, I know that a lot of young graduates might not necessarily have any experience teaching young kids, and you want to come across as someone who has some experience with children. So whether this was babysitting or tutoring, you want to highlight this experience. So if you don't have any experience but you do have your TEFL, you want to mention that I did get my TEFL, number 1, and number 2, I've done A, B, and C. This will definitely make you stand out from the rest. Number 3, you'll be asked to talk about your strengths. Now, this is a pretty easy and pretty common question. You want to talk about something that you're good at, something you feel confident in, something that sets you apart yet again. So this could be honestly anything. It must be something that will be positive and something that will be good for you as a teacher. So a positive, for example, for any teacher would be that you're a patient person. You definitely need patience if you're going to be a teacher. This only makes sense, especially if you're going to be a teacher to young kids. You want to be someone that is very patient and someone that is very creative, because you might need to come up with an activity that the kids will want to engage in on the spot, regardless of whether or not you have office hours, you don't have office hours to think about. You want to be someone that is very creative and will always be able to get the attention of your students. So these are just this is literally just 2 of the possible strengths that you could have. Okay, number 4. I can't count. Number 4, they will ask you about a weakness. So you have to talk about a weakness. Now remember, guys, that for any and all of these questions, you want to be able to elaborate. If you can elaborate and give them an experience or a time where you had to use your patience or you had to use your creativity, definitely put that in. Definitely say that and tell them about that experience. So even when it comes to your weakness, first of all, you want to give them a positive that can somehow also be considered as a weakness. For example, one positive that can definitely be considered a weakness is attention to detail. All right, now attention to detail is absolutely amazing, but if you spend so much time looking at the details, you lose track of the time, and therefore time management can turn into your weakness. But instead of going ahead and saying, oh, I have trouble with time management, what you can say is that I pay too much attention to detail, and this therefore affects my time management. And then you elaborate on that. You give them a time when you were so into making sure that this thing was absolutely perfect that you lost track of the time. that's basically how you answer the questions. And if there's anything that you guys want to take from this video and from me, I definitely want to make it clear that you guys want to answer all questions even before they are asked. So absolutely wait for them to ask the questions, but give them enough detail that they don't have to ask follow-up questions on anything. So make sure that you elaborate. Don't give one-word answers. Don't do any of that. Make sure that you elaborate enough so that they don't have to worry about follow-up questions to any of the questions that they've already asked. Okay? And then another very, very, very important question, and this is if you have a TEFL or if you have experience, they'll ask you about what is the most challenging time that you've experienced. Or if you have just your TEFL, they'll ask you, how would you discipline a child that is not behaving in your classroom? So if you have your TEFL, you'd already know how to answer this. If you have experience, you should also know how to answer this. And basically, you just want to cover up on what your TEFL certificate will kind of outline on how to treat a child that is misbehaving. And for most cases, what you want to do is you want to understand if there's any underlying problem that the child is facing. So you want to know, is the child purely not understanding the work that you're completing in class, or is there a situation at home that the child is facing, or a situation at school that the child is faced with that is resulting in them not focusing in your class? So once you understand all of this, once you understand the root of the problem, you will then be able to give the child the proper attention, or try to arrange your class or teach in a style that is best suited for your learner. And the very last question that I want to touch on is, what is your teaching philosophy? I think that I was asked this question in every single interview, and you should definitely be prepared for this. So there are multiple kind of different teaching philosophies that you could believe in. I know that for my interview, I definitely went with understanding the student or trying to have, a friendship in some sort of way with your students, so that they trust you and they're confident in your teaching ability, so that they're comfortable enough in your classroom. Now, like I said, that this is totally and completely up to you. It is your teaching philosophy, and it will definitely depend on what you believe in. But as a teacher, I do believe in having some sort of relationship with your students other than the teacher-student relationship that will have them trust you, and they will be confident in you, and they'll have them sort of just depend on you as an older person or as a teacher, and therefore they'll be able to sort of learn more from you. I'm not really sure how many points I gave you, but these are sort of the very most basic interview questions that you must prepare for in order to, get yourself a position here in China. And then for post-interview, you want to ask questions. You want to ask how many hours how many hours are in your contract. That is a question that you need to ask if it is already not clear. You want to ask how many kids are in your class, and you want to ask if there is any office hours, or if there aren't any office hours. Overall, I would say that if there's anything that you don't understand, you want to ask. And honestly, have a question prepared for your interview, because this makes it seem as if you're truly interested in that position. And if you can, try to find out information on the school that is interviewing you, so you can find research on that school and then be prepared to ask questions for that school. So, always do your research, always come through as if you are interested in that school specifically and you know about that school specifically. All right, guys. It is literally 15 minutes. So this is my goodbye. I will see you again next week. Definitely. Goodbye.